The Social Security break-even age shown by many calculators may not fully account for all relevant planning variables. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the planning assumptions and math that are often overlooked in standard Social Security analysis. Because depending on your income needs, your tax situation, your health, and your longevity, the right claiming age is rarely the ones a simple calculator hands you. Not because waiting is always right or claiming early is always wrong, but because the math most people rely on leaves out the most important variables. Hi, I'm John Marino, president of Securus Financial, and what I'm about to show you is one of the most commonly overlooked blind spots I see in retirement planning. Not because people aren't smart, but because the tools they've been handed only measure one tiny corner of a much bigger decision. Here's what you've been told. On one extreme, claim at 62 because Social Security is going bankrupt and get your money while the getting is good. On the other extreme, delay as long as possible, all the way to age 70, no matter what. Get that big delayed paycheck as big as possible. So every calculator online runs the same play. It compares the bigger delayed check against the years you gave up waiting for it. And it spits out a break-even age somewhere in the early 80s. Live past that, the calculator says, delaying wins. Sounds logical, right? Here's the problem nobody talks about. The break-even number is answering a tiny question. Which option pays more total dollars if you live to a certain age? And treating it like it's the whole decision. But it isn't. It says nothing about taxes, nothing about your required minimum distributions later, nothing about what a surviving spouse is left with, nothing about whether you actually need the income now or not, and nothing about your health situation. It's a single calculation pretending to be a strategy. Let me show you what I mean. Say you're at full retirement age of 67 and you could claim around $2,600 a month now, or wait until age 70 for a larger check. The simple calculator weighs those two numbers against each other and tells you to wait. But that comparison quietly assumes your entire financial life stays frozen in place for 3 years. And it doesn't, because here's what's actually happening underneath the hood. And this is the part calculators completely miss. If you delay claiming, you're not just waiting on a bigger check. You're making a series of decisions, like where your income comes from in the meantime. And every one of those decisions has a tax consequence. For a lot of higher net worth retirees, those bridge years, the years before Social Security starts, are some of the most valuable tax planning years you'll ever have. Your income is temporarily lower. Your bracket is temporarily lower. And that creates room to do things like draw down on a traditional IRA on purpose, or run Roth conversions, tax management planning that can reduce the tax time bomb waiting for you at age 73 or 75 when those retired minimum distributions kick in. That's the piece the simple break-even calculator just simply doesn't address. If you're sitting there realizing your entire Social Security strategy is based on a single break-even number, you're not alone. And you're asking exactly the right question now. This is exactly what we help with at Securus Financial. Book a time with me using the link in the description and we'll discuss your actual situation. Now here's the objection I hear constantly. My parents lived to 95, so I'm planning for the same. Fair point, but let's look at what the data actually says. According to Social Security's own actuarial tables, a 65-year-old man has roughly a 40 to 45% chance of reaching his late 80s, and about 1 in 3 have a chance of reaching 90 or beyond. The probability of reaching age 95, well, you guessed it, it's lower. So if your whole strategy is built on outliving a break-even age in your 80s, understand what you're really doing. You're making a bet on landing in the upper tier of longevity outcomes. For some people, that makes sense. For a lot of people, it deserves a much harder look. But here's the part that almost nobody factors in, and this might be the most important point in this entire video. The claiming decision is not really a math problem. It's a planning problem, and the calculators only see the math. Let me give you the factors that actually drive this decision, the ones a break-even number will never capture. First, your need for income. If you need the money to live off of, that changes everything before the math even starts. As we tell our clients all the time, income is the outcome. Second, your longevity and your health. Not your parents, not your siblings, yours. Third, your tax situation. This is a big one, especially if you have significant assets in a traditional IRA, because every dollar in that account is eventually taxable, and the government has say when it comes out and the tax rates it may be taxed at. Fourth, survivor benefits. This is such an overlooked area of planning for both Social Security and taxes. So when one spouse passes, the survivor keeps the larger of the two checks. So when one check disappears and in the following year after the spouse's that survivor starts filing taxes, they are now filing as a single filer, which could potentially lead to higher taxes. Yes, you heard me, higher taxes. It's what I call the widow's tax, the most egregious tax of them all. The claiming decision you make today shapes what your spouse or you as a surviving spouse lives on later. And fifth, your required minimum distributions. In my experience, one reason why many people claim Social Security is to get that steady income stream, that paycheck that they are used to from their working years. This allows their IRA or their piggy bank to keep growing, much like they had in their 401k during their working years. Psychologically, people are choosing familiarity, and from this standpoint, that's completely understandable. However, by doing so, they let a large IRA continue to grow untouched. Then when they're forced with those withdrawals at 73 or 75, they are potentially pushed into a higher bracket. And I'm not just talking about ordinary income taxes, but those Medicare IRMA taxes also. Now, if you've ever used a basic break-even Social Security calculator, you'll probably notice that not one of those 5 things showed up in the analysis. So here's a way to see it clearly. 2 people reach age 67, each with $1 million saved. Person A claims at full retirement age and starts taking around $2,600 a month right away. That gives them their income now, and it means more of their portfolio can stay invested. But it also locks in a smaller lifetime benefit and a smaller survivor benefit down the road. Person B, they delay to age 70 for the larger check. To bridge those 3 years, they pull income from somewhere, and that's a traditional IRA, done intentionally. It can actually reduce future required minimum distributions and the taxes that come with them. But it also means drawing down the portfolio earlier, which carries its own market risk. So which one is right? The honest answer? It depends on the entirety of the plan. Both paths carry benefits and trade-offs. Both face market risk. Person A, through the years their portfolio stays invested. Person B, through the bridge years and potentially through forced withdrawals anyways. Great outcomes are built in the details most people overlook. Taxes, survivor income, RMDs, market risk, longevity, each one matters. But like a symphony, no single instrument carries the performance. It's the coordination, the timing, the discipline of every piece playing together that creates something truly remarkable. That's why claim early because you might as well isn't a strategy. And always delay to 70 isn't a strategy either. They're both defaults and generalized statements. And relying solely on simplified assumptions can materially affect your retirement outcomes over time. So here's how to actually think this through. Start with whether you need the income at all. Then honestly look at your own longevity and health using real life expectancy, not best case family history. Then, and this is where the real money is, look at your tax picture. Map out the tax liability your traditional IRA becomes at your RMD age if you leave it untouched. Look at what your spouse would face as a widow or a widower and ask whether those lower income bridge years are an opportunity you should be using on purpose instead of letting them slip by. If you haven't looked at all that, you haven't actually made a claiming decision. You've trusted a calculator. And here's what the calculator will never tell you. Your money also has a timing problem that goes beyond the math. $1 at 67 when you're healthy and mobile and can use it to travel and do things you spent your whole career waiting for may be worth more than the $1 at 90 when your world has gone smaller. That's not a financial calculation. It's a life planning calculation. And it belongs in this decision just as much as the numbers do. The Social Security claiming decision is one of the most significant financial moves you'll make in retirement. The right answer is different for everyone, but it should be based on your full picture, not a calculator built on a single assumption. So if you want to sit down and discuss your specific situation, book a time with me. The link is in the description below. See you in the next video.